Okay, go to your note. Look at page 7. Let's practice two small things. So please go to your note on page 7. So page 7, did you find out the case example right here? You should understand right now we have two kind of shares, right? So here told you your first share was that ordinary shares. So ordinary shares, this is your first kind of shares. What's your second kind of shares? Preference shares, right? So here told you you have second kind of shares, preference shares. Okay? You should understand they are not the same. So for ordinary shares, here told you ordinary shares they had a par value $5. Okay? Par value 面额 remember what does it mean? Means for ordinary shares, for the shares, par value is $5, right? Okay. And here told you 10,000 shares. Could you tell me this 10,000 shares means issue shares or authorized shares? Which one? This 10,000 shares means issue shares or authorized shares. Which one? Issue shares. You sold the shares to investors already. So this is your issued shares. Okay? How about preference shares? Preference shares par value is $100. What does it mean? For preference shares 特别股 the par value is 100. So remember, for preference shares, we give them two priority, right? So what's first priority? Dividends. So on the contract, we will tell you 5%. So what does it mean? You promise them you are going to give them 5% dividends. Okay? So on the contract, you told them par value 100. You told them dividend 5%. Okay? For the preference shares you sold, issued to investors, how many? 200 shares you sold to investors already. So this is your issue shares you sold to preference shareholders. Okay? So how much money you got from each one? I sold ordinary shares. 发行普通股 I got the cash. How much? $100,000. So $100,000 you got the money from ordinary shareholders. Okay. So how about second kind of share? Preference shares. You sold 200 preference shares. So you got the cash $150,000 from preference shareholders. Okay, so you should understand how to read the informations. Also, here told you, I have the net income. This year, I earned a profit $30,000. So net income means what? You earn the profit $30,000 this year. Okay? So you earn the profit 30,000 this year. Also, remember when we are going to prepare balance sheet, what's the number we are going to report on balance sheet? Ending balance, right? So you should know beginning balance plus net income minus dividends. You got ending balance for your retained earnings, right? So that's why I here told you you have beginning balance of retained earnings because we are going to use it to get our ending balance. So use it to compute our ending balance of retained earnings. Okay. Also, dividends. We have to pay the dividends to shareholders. So here told you this year we pay cash dividend totally $15,000, right? So you pay dividends to shareholders totally how much? $15,000. Okay? So based on these informations, remember preference shareholders 特别股股东 have the priority, right? They will get dividend first. So try to find out what's the dividends we should pay to preference shareholders. Then the remaining belong to ordinary shareholders, right? Okay. So try to get how much for preference shareholders? How? Dividend rate times par value, right? How much for your ordinary shareholders remaining, right? Okay. Third, I want to know ending balance. How to know ending balance? Beginning plus net income minus dividends. You got ending, right? After you got all the numbers, please use the number you got to prepare your balance sheet for equity section. So your balance sheet for equity section, we know preference shareholders, ordinary shareholders, and what's the retained earnings, right? Remember, all the number here on balance sheet should be ending balance, right? Okay. Any questions? So that's page 7. Also, finish page 8. Page 8, I told you authorized shares. I told you issue shares. Could you find out on issue shares still in your company? Okay, so that's page 7 and page 8. Please finish by yourself. Page 7 and page 8. Oh, sorry, don't forget. Dividend rate times par value only for one share, right? So your company issue how many shares for your preference? 200, right? So don't forget, you should get the total amount. So times shares. If you finish, you can double check it. Okay, are you done? Any questions? No? 会长? Okay. So any question for page 7? No problem? So you find out the ending balance of retained earnings After you find out the ending balance for retained earnings, then you know what's the number we are going to prepare report it on your balance sheet, right? Also, where you got these two numbers? Share capital, remember what does it mean, share capital, 股本? Issue the shares to get the money from shareholders, right? So what's the number, the money we got from shareholders? On your question told you, right? So on your question told you, you got the cash, how much? $100,000 from ordinary shareholders, $150,000 from preference shareholders. Okay, so share capital, remember what does it mean? Means that you issue shares, got the cash from shareholders. Right? But right now you should understand we have two shareholders, preference shareholders, ordinary shareholders. So you should dash preference or dash ordinary to tell them from which shareholders. Okay? Any questions for page 7? No problem? Then how about page 8? Page 8. How many for your unissued? No problem, right? How to get the number? Authorized shares minus issue shares, right? You got unissued. Because authorized shares is the total shares you could sell. Then you issued this amount. So the remaining still in your company unissued should be the remaining. Okay, any questions? Then let's continue. So please go to your slide, page 23. Slide 23. Second issue, I want to tell you how your company could issue the shares to investors. Usually, when we want to get the money, right? How you get the money from investors? Two ways. First is directly from investors. Second is indirectly. So what does it mean? Directly means you sell the shares to investors in person. So you face to investor, you talk to investors, talk to them. Okay, I want to sell the shares to you. Could you give me the money? So that's the right way, okay? Indirect way means what? You don't do it. You ask investment bank, 投资银行, to help you sell your shares. So you ask investment bank, 投资银行. So investment bank will help you to sell the shares to investors. So will you talk to investor directly? No. You talk to investment bank. Investment bank contact with investors. Okay, so that's the second way, indirect way. So usually for public company, 公开发行上市柜公司, they will use the second way, indirect way. So for public company, like an Apple company, like a 台积电, you won't talk to investors directly. You won't. You will tell bank. Ask the bank help you to get the cash, get the money from investors. Okay? So the right way usually for closed company. So means what? Some companies they don't sell the shares in the market. They don't. So they will talk to some people like your family, like your friends. Maybe you will talk to your friends, your families, your colleagues, your classmates, and tell them, my company is a good company. Do you want to invest in my company? Become my partner? So you will talk to your close friends, your families, directly. Okay? So usually The right way is closed companies, 非公开发行公司。So you cannot buy their shares in the market. You cannot. Okay, so for Apple company, for 台积电 is public companies, 公开发行公司。So you can, investor can buy the shares in the market. Okay, so the right way, usually only for some people, so cannot buy it in the market. So in the right way, usually is for Apple company or 台积电. The details, don't worry, when you take finance courses will tell you the details. So there's the rough, the structure, the basic concept right here. Okay? Any questions? So in the future, if you want to do the finance job, you could be company side right here, or you could be market side in the bank. Okay, depends on you. So you can work for the company or work for the bank. So you should understand there is a totally different side. So you have to think about the shares, the market in different point of view. Okay. Third is how to determine the share price. Actually, how to determine the share price, 股价, is quite hard. No one really knows the share price increase or decrease this year, today, right? If you could estimate the share price, then you'll be a rich man. So usually it's quite hard to note Apple share price today or 台积电 share price today is quite hard. But the basic factor elements should be, of course, company, right? If you are the good company, then if you think the company will have the better good profit next year, so of course your company share price should be increased, right? When your company will have the good performance in the future. So the first major factor should be the company. So your company's performance situation will determine the share price. But it's not enough. Even though you are the good company, cannot make sure today your share price will be higher. Still, maybe your share price will get lower. Why? Because other factors still will affect your company share price. Like what? Economy. So the market. So the market could be local market, could be global market, right? So it could be market. The market could be a local market or global market. Local market like the what? In Taiwan, maybe that's Taiwan. So that's a local market. Global market is other countries. Could be US, could be Japan, could be Korea, could be UK, could be anyway other countries. So the market situation also will affect your share price. So that's why for Taijidian, why previous month the share price for Taijidian is lower, because investors, foreign investors, 外资, the investor from other countries, they are afraid, the popular situation between Taiwan and mainland China, right? So they are afraid the Taiwan market is too risky, so they will sell all the Taijidian shares. So they will make Taijidian shares decrease, getting lower. So it's not because Taijidian is not a good company. It's not. It's because of the market. Okay? So did you find out for the market? I think you will have some course like a local market. You have microeconomics for the course. Do you have? Microeconomics. 个体经济学 or global market is macroeconomics. Economics. So did you find out if you want to do finance job, you have to understand so many things, not only finance. You have to understand finance, accounting, economics. So finance is more difficult than accounting, because you have to understand so many kind of things. So many factors will affect the finance, affect the market. Okay, so that's the basic idea to let you understand. Any questions? No problem? Okay. So next issue is about accounting. When we want to record the situation for the contract, the shares, I've mentioned we have the par value, right? So we will put, for example, $10 on the share. So that $10, we put a number on the share. We call it par value shares. So par value shares means what? Par value shares, 面额股, means what? Means you will find out the par value on the shares. Okay? So par value shares means you will find out the par value on the shares. 面额股. In Taiwan, right now we don't force the company, we don't require the company to put the par value. We don't. Right now we change the regulation, the rules. But so far, still the company put $10 on the share. Okay, even though we don't force them, require them to do that, but they still use the previous how to say it? They still use the previous rules to put the par value $10 on the share. So there's a par value shares 面额股. So par value shares means you could find out there's $10 on the shares. Okay. But why? What's the point? We put $10 on the shares. The only reason is we want to use the $10 to determine legal capital, 法定资本. Okay, we want to use the $10 to determine legal capital. So what does it mean? It means that $10 is legal capital. So why we want to put $10 to use it to determine legal capital, 法定资本. Legal capital means the money company cannot use no matter what. Okay, so legal capital means what? The money company cannot use no matter what. So could you use the $10 to pay dividends? No, you cannot. Could you use the $10 to buy PP? No, you cannot. So that $10 always you have to keep in the company. For what? To protect creditors. In case someday when your company go bankruptcy, when your company close, you don't have the money. So when you don't have the money, how could you pay the money back to creditors? Okay? Remember this? We talk about the second priority for preference shareholders. On your page 16, when your company go bankruptcy, you had to pay the debt to creditors, right? But you should have the money. But if you are the company, when your company is going to close, go bankruptcy, some big guys will do not take all the money. So left nothing. When you left nothing, could you pay the debt to creditors? Impossible. So at this moment, we try to protect creditors. At least you had some money pay the debt to creditors. So we use the par value $10. So what does it mean? At least for the $10 par value, right? So par value $10 means what? Means $10 is legal capital. $10 your company have to keep in the company no matter what. So that $10 is legal capital. So means your company still have the $10. So you could use the $10 to pay. At least you have a $10. Company have a $10 to pay creditor, to pay debt. Okay, so that's the purpose. We put $10 on the shares in order to protect creditors. So that's why the old rules. We had this kind of rules before because we want to use the $10 determine the legal capital. 法定资本 legal capital 法定资本 means your company cannot use no matter what. In order at this moment you could pay the $10 to creditors. Okay? So that's the purpose we put par value on the shares. Any questions? Okay. So why we have this kind of rules? In order to protect creditors. Okay? So we have the rules $10 as the legal capital. Why? In order to protect creditors. So the legal capital means what? Legal capital means your company have to retain in the company. That's the legal capital. Okay? Legal capital means your company must retain in business. Your company cannot use it no matter what in order to protect creditors. Okay? So that's the reason. But always, everything, one thing have a good side and the bad side, right? So the good side, the good reason because of that. But because of this, also we have some issue, some problem. So what's the issue problem? Could you tell me that $10 is the share price? $10 is not the share price. $10 means par value. It means legal capital. Its purpose protect creditors. That's it. But always, when one thing have two numbers, always you'll get confused, right? like a contractual interest rate 票面利率 like market interest rate 市场利率 when one thing have two numbers always you get confused. So again, for that par value will make you get confused because par value is not share price. Remember that. Par value is not share price. Oh. So what does it mean par value? Par value only means the number on the share. What's the share price? Issue, sell the shares to investors, the cash you get from shareholders, right? So it's not the same. Par value is what? The value on the shares. Share price means what? The selling price. So it's not the same, but always you'll get confused. So like a Taijidian, Apple, you know, their par value, for example, the companies in Taiwan, their par value always the same, $10. But company A, for example, company A will share price $20. Company B maybe have a share price $500. Okay, so for example, like what? Company A and the company B. Oh. Company A and the company B. You know, both of them have the same par value. So par value 10. Par value 10. But different company when they sell the shares to the market will not be the same, right? So for company A, when it sold to the market, the share price, market value, maybe $20. For company B, when they sell to the market, share price maybe $500. So did you find out they are not the same? Par value told you legal capital, that's it. But even though they have the same par value, when they sell to the market, selling price, share price will not be the same. Depends on what company it is, right? Okay. But remember, always some of you will get confused. Okay, any questions? No problem? Then accounting, because of this, we want to know par value, how much. This is a legal capital to protect investors, right? So accounting, based on this, we give you two new accounts. So this is the two new accounts. Share price $80 for these shares, par value $10, right? So means what? $10 is your par value. This is your par value. When these shares, you sell it to the market, share price $80. Okay? So accounting, we want to know how much is your legal capital. How much you cannot use it no matter what. So for that par value $10, we use share capital 股本 to tell you how much for your legal capital. You cannot use it no matter what. Okay? So share price $70 is the remaining amount. So this remaining amount is what? Share price $80 minus par value $10. So the remaining amount, $70, is the amount above your par value. We give you another account. We call it share premium. Okay? So right now you should understand For share price $80, you should classify them into two parts. Part 1, $10 for your par value. We use it to determine legal capital. Which account we use? Share capital. The remaining part 2, we use another account, share premium, 资本公积, to told you this amount is above your par value. Okay? So when you look at these two accounts, you should understand what does that mean. This means part 1. And this means your part 2. Share capital only for par value. 股本, right now you should understand. 股本 share capital only for your par value. Legal capital 法定资本. Others, we use another account, share premium 资本公积. Okay, any questions? If you don't have any questions, then another way is, did you find out? No par value. On your page 28. On your page 28. So no par value shares, 无面额股, means what? You won't find out any numbers on the shares. So there's no par value shares, 无面额股. Okay? Right now, no par value shares, 无面额股 is most common today. So more countries use no par value shares. Okay? So right now, this is more common. So more countries use no par value shares, 无面额股. Why? Because I told you, when I use par value shares, will make you get confused, right? Because some investors or some of you will think par value is share price, but they are not. So when I use two numbers, some people will get confused. So that's the first reason they don't use par value anymore. Okay? On your slide 30. Slide 30. Slide 30. Page 30. Par value is not market value. Okay? It's not. But they will make some people get confused. So this is the first reason. Right now, more countries prefer no par value because par value, market value, they are not the same. But they will get some people confused. Okay? Second reason why. Par value is too small. I use it to determine legal capital, but actually they cannot protect creditors. Okay? Par value too small. Immaterial means the number is too small. So par value, the number is too small. So it's quite hard to protect investors, protect creditors. Impossible, quite hard. So you want to use par value to protect creditors. That's questionable because the number is too small. For example, what is that? If you look at, for example, some company like Taiji-Dian, par value $10. Do you know the share price today? Maybe 300. I'm not sure today. $360 maybe. Did you find out? Share price $360. Par value only $10. That par value is too small. When you want to use it to determine legal capital to protect creditors. The number is too small. So could we protect creditors? Actually, it's quite hard to use $10 protect creditors because for Taijidian, for big companies, their share price is big number. So you just use $10 to protect creditors. Impossible. So they think the number too small to protect creditors. So they want to use other methods. So they give up this method. This method, $10 protect creditor. They don't think it's the good method, good way to protect creditors. So they give up this method. They are going to use others. Okay? So they were going to use other methods to protect creditors. That's right. More countries, more companies, they prefer no par value shares. Okay, they give up par value because they try to use other methods to protect creditors. Okay, so they use other methods. They don't use par value to protect creditors. Okay? So that's why more countries, more companies prefer no par value shares. Any questions? So this is first reason. This is second reason. So like an Apple company, for example, let's go back to slide 28. Slide 28. So more company prefer no par value. But if you want to give them some number, could you do that? Yeah, also you could do that. So based on no par value shares, if you want to give them some specific number value, you could do that. So which we call it static value. Static value means what? You decide some specific value by yourself. So you assign, you put some number on the shares. So this static value. So for example, if I decide to put 0.05 on the share, so this is the static value. 设定价值。So this number decided by your companies. You could put any number you want for your company's purpose. Okay, so for example, slide 29. This is for Apple company. For Apple company, did you find out par value right here? What's the par value? 0.00001. So this is the static value decided by Apple company. So Apple company decide to assign this number for their par value. Okay, so this is a static value. So for Apple shares, it decide to put 0.00001 on their share. Okay, so this is static value. Any questions so far? So when you look at balance sheet, equity part, here told you the information about their shares. You should understand how to read it. So par value 0.00001. They assign the number for their shares. So this is their authorized shares. You should understand what does it mean, right? So how many shares they issued? Here told you. So how many shares they issued? So you look at each company, they will told you this kind of information. Authorized shares, how many? Issue shares, how many? Okay? Next hour, we will tell you. Outstanding, what does it mean? Outstanding, okay? Any questions? No problem? Take a break.